Countywide, I'm Paul David. As always, it's great to have you in studio with us today. DPS Sergeant John McFarland in studio. Good website for you, and we'll mention this again, azdps.gov. It's a great website. At the news department here, we go through it all the time. They've got a lot of silver alerts on there, and then a lot of the press releases you'll hear us talk about, they've got information on there as well that you can take a look at, and information all across the state when it comes to roads and different things going on with the Department of Public Safety. Hello, John.
Good morning.
Welcome to studio.
Thanks for having me.
John is filling in for G.R. Manera. He was unable to make it today, but we've got John McFarland here, and you're based out of Camp Verde, correct?
I am.
So you're a local guy. Okay. We're going to get right into it. The reason I have DPS coming in today was we've got a few things going on right now, and that is we've got the typical crashes that occur usually on the weekends between Sunset Point and Black Canyon City. And so we want to talk about some of the things you should have in your car just in case you get stuck in something like that. Any crash that happens in the state, you should have a few things in your vehicle.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. And then we've got a few other things we're going to talk about too, kind of a punch list with Sergeant McFarland here this morning. So let's start with the summertime tips. We're here, it's hot, it's Arizona, flick of a switch, we went from spring to summer. The hot temperatures are here. So what are some of the things we should have in our car just in case we break down or get stuck in traffic?
Right. Well, like you mentioned, if you're going to travel on the highway, there's a good chance you're either going to have some type of breakdown or there's going to be a collision, you're going to be caught in a backup. I would say the number one thing is water.
Okay.
You want to have water preferably both for you and your car. So if you have the ability to carry, a large jug of water for your car, that's great, and also plenty of drinking water. That's the big thing. The other thing you want to make sure is that you have your car gassed. I think we've always all been there where you think, well, maybe if I can just make it to Phoenix where the gas is maybe a little cheaper, but
I was there last week.
If you get caught in that backup and you left, Flagstaff trying to make it to Phoenix on that quarter tank, you could find yourself in a bit of trouble. So it may cost you a little more, but you want to make sure you have a full gas tank so that you're not caught out there without gas.
That's a good point.
A charged cell phone or an ability to charge your cell phone so that if you do end up stranded that you have the ability to call for some help. And then maybe some snacks. So if you're caught, in an extended backup, you have some snacks or something like that. Those are kind of the big things that I would want to make sure. Like I say, primarily the water's the big thing in the summer months in Arizona.
Now, and some of these crashes can take hours. I think the last big one we had between Black Canyon City and Sunset Point involved a tour bus, a car, motorcycle, and a semi. And it was like 40-some plus people. I was talking to Captain G.R. Manera about this, and he said that the backup lasted for quite a few hours because of the high number of people that were involved in it. So it's not unheard of to be stuck maybe 3, 4, 5 hours even.
Unfortunately, traveling I-17 now between Flagstaff and Phoenix, you pretty much just need to count on at some point, if you're making that trip routinely, you're going to get caught in a backup. And we're not any happier about that than you are, but it's a reality. So you're best to be prepared for it.
And Captain Danny Golden was in here a couple of years ago, and he made a good point too that we put on the show as well. He says, if it's a fatal crash, that is somebody's loved one. And if it was your loved one, you would want us to do the best of the best investigation on that crash to find out what happened. So there's also an element of you've got to have some patience too in case that's going on as well. And I thought that was a good point that he brought up on that as well. Okay, so I think we're all familiar, but between those two areas, Black Canyon City, we all know it's Black Canyon City to Sunset Point, that hill. For some reason, that hill is just a death trap, whether it's northbound on Friday or a southbound Sunday.
It's true.
There are some things being done in between there. Can you talk about those at all to kind of hopefully get people to slow down?
Well, there's a few things. They're experimenting right now, and they did the last holiday weekend with reducing the speed limits there.
How'd that work? Let's start with that right there. It was down to 55.
Right, and I don't know as far as, I think time will bear that out, whether that was effective or not. I can say that, I worked over Memorial Day weekend, and I don't recall there being any major problems for a change. And I don't know whether to attribute that to the speed limit change or not.
Sure.
I think they're just, at this point, they're trying various things to see if they'll work because it is such a problem.
And that's going to happen on the holiday weekend. So we've got the 4th of July weekend coming up as well. So it'll be, I think what it was 55 miles an hour from Anthem or New River Anthem,
Correct.
New River, all the way up to Sunset Point was 55 miles an hour for the northbound traffic.
Right.
And then it switched to southbound traffic on the Monday.
Correct.
Okay, that's how that worked. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to be trying that one out.
Right.
We got some new signage going up.
Correct.
Okay. What kind of signage is going up in there?
I'm not sure specifically which
Okay.
signage you're talking about.
I think ADOT is putting up some of those. They've got one sitting on Cornville Road right now. As you come down into Cornville, it's YCSO has one that it shows you how fast you're going.
Oh,
it's
I
like
see.
you better slow down. You're doing 30 and a
Right.
25, so it's got
Right.
the numbers that flash at you to tell you
Okay.
how fast you're going.
Yeah.
And then there's some other projects I know that they've got coming up down there as well, but they could be years away. So
Right.
I think the real message we're trying to get out here today is just be prepared, because as you mentioned, odds are if you're on 17, you're going to wind up getting stuck in something.
true.
Eventually.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, in our focus over the years, we do want to do a good investigation, but we are trying to expedite clearing the road. I'm sure that people sitting in the backup feel like we're taking our time. I can assure you that our policies have become very aggressive as far as clearing the road. We're hooking up to cars, dragging them off the road if we can. So we're doing everything we can to clear the road. Unfortunately, some of these collisions just become so dynamic that there's debris everywhere or people injured that, you know, they have to treat, that we can't just clear it immediately. But anytime we can, we are trying to clear the road. So just keep that in mind when you're in a backup. It's not because we're just sitting there looking at cars. As soon as we are physically able to, we are clearing cars off the road, really in an aggressive manner now. Like I say, we are pulling, or towing them out of the way to try to clear the road just as quickly as we can.
Sure. And I know on the holiday weekends too now, ADOT has extra wreckers and stuff along the roadways. There's additional emergency personnel if need be. And I think even Red Cross has shown up with water and gasoline and stuff like that for people just
I think they have on some major events.
Yeah,
correct.
especially when it's super hot out like it is right
Right.
now. You know, you're stuck out there and you don't have that water with you now.
Right.
You know, after a couple of hours sitting in the sun, you are going to be hot. Let me ask you this. How many tires have you changed that aren't yours?
Oh, I
Right?
couldn't count them.
I mean, you're not just a peace officer, right? I mean, you pull up and you run into that stuff all the time, don't you? Broke down cars.
Yeah, there's days you feel like you're part of a pit crew more than you are.
Right. You're AAA.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So you've got that going on too. So what are some of the things that we should have in our vehicle? We talked about this last year too, and I hadn't even thought about that, but you got this hot asphalt, and there's some things you probably should have with you just in case you get a flat tire.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
So I think GR was talking about one of the good things to have is like an old jacket or a towel or something you can put underneath your knees because we're using shorts.
Sure.
And so the asphalt. And I mean, you're in your uniform, so I can't imagine being out there in that heat having to change a tire.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then GR also mentioned last year that some of the newer cars don't have spare tires in them. They just have that can of Fix-A-Flat in there.
Right.
So I could just see me opening up the spare tire compartment and finding a can that says, here, spray me into the tire and good luck.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
Especially when your tire's shredded and that doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. So if I have a flat tire, what's some of the things I should do to make sure I'm not going to be getting hit? We have the move over law.
Sure. Well, the first thing to do in regard to that is, and it's something I think we all tend to take for granted, is make sure that your tires are aired up before you take the trip. Sometimes we get caught up when we forget about the air in our tires. So check the condition of your tires that you currently have going. Make sure that they're ready for the summer and they're ready for a long trip. But that being said, you still have events that occur and you still might end up with a flat. So make sure you have air in your spare tire. Like you said, bring something that you can lay on the ground. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, something to just keep you from the hot asphalt. Another thing that I see frequently is they'll have the tire, they'll have everything else, and for some reason they don't have a lug wrench.
Oh, so have the tools.
Make sure that you have the tools, check your car, make sure you actually have a lug wrench that fits your car.
That'd be so frustrating.
Especially you buy a used car from somebody, you don't know what's in there, and then you find out when you're out on the side of the road. Make sure that you have the correct tools to get the tire changed. And then the other thing is, once you have that flat tire, try to get as far off the road as you can. You know, I understand that sometimes you can't get all the way off the road and still get your tire changed, but every inch that you give yourself, you know, off the side of the road, the better off you are. The further away you are from the actual travel lane, the better off you are. So, try to get out there away from the travel lane so that when you're changing your tire, you're not exposed to traffic.
Okay. All right. We've got to take a break, okay?
All right.
DPS Sergeant John McFarland in studio today. Website is azdps.gov. This is countywide, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education, what are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else?
Or will you dare do something different?
Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills.
The smarts?
Yes, you. You could be the teacher I never forget.
That'd be cool.
Does that corporate job even have recess? What are you gonna make of yourself?
What are you gonna make of me?
The Q102.9 plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5.
This is Rihanna.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
Ed Sheeran.
What's up, guys? It's Justin Bieber.
You're listening to The Weeknd.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
To make a difference, we must stand together. Stand with me. Be drug-free. Supporting our families and listening to our teens.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
We are all one. No one is immune.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
Let's stand together for a healthier community.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
Welcome back to Countywide. DPS Sergeant John McFarland in studio today. Website is azdps.gov. We're talking about summertime safety and travel. We were just talking about changing tires. And during the break, Ryan mentioned that some folks, you may not even know where the spare tire is in your vehicle, or actually, like I've got a little Toyota pickup, how to drop the tire down in the back end. So it's probably something we should practice at least once to get familiar as to how these things work.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, because I found my tools. And my truck even came with little white gloves.
Oh, nice.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Nice of you to give me some gloves for these things. Right. Gloves are a good thing to have, too, in your vehicle in case you break down as well.
Good point.
So find out where the spare tire is and know how to use the tools that go with the spare tire. And as parents, like I've taught all my kids how to change a tire.
Right.
So I think that's maybe parents, grandparents, you might want to teach your kids how to do, change a tire as well, so they're not stuck out there on the side of the road.
Good point.
Has been really great over now, where every Monday he sends us the incidents that took place the prior week, because you guys sitting one to go by really fast, and then off you go after that. And what I'm noticing is big drug busts. I should report too some of the crash incidents that take place. And that's why there was this going on out there. So that's always nice to have. But the one thing I've noticed that he's sending me, and I want him to keep sending them to me as well, is the excessive speed. Some of the speeds that I'm seeing on these press releases that he sends to me is unbelievable. I think the highest one I saw so far was 119 miles an hour on I-40. That is unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about aggressive speed and aggressive drivers, I should say, and excessive speed. Let's talk excessive speed. What?
Several different scenarios, but basically anything above 85 miles an hour. So once you hit the magic 86 mile an hour mark, regardless of where you are, and you're on the interstate, that's only 11 miles an hour over the speed limit. You can get there pretty quickly, but anything 86 and above is considered excessive speed by statute. And I work out of several different court jurisdictions, so I don't keep track of the fine amounts because they do vary by court, but they tend to be very, very pricey tickets.
Is there an average you can give me?
I want to say offhand that if you get cited for excessive speed around the 100 mark, you're probably looking around $500.
Okay, it's expensive.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it's made to be that way. It's
Yes.
it's a punishment. It's a penalty.
The other thing to remember is that anytime you're over 86 miles an hour, it's a criminal offense. The officer has the option of arresting you, taking you and booking you in and towing your car as well. So,
Sergeant McFarland, if I go by you to 120 miles an hour in my vehicle and you're sitting in the median, what are you going to do with me?
odds are you're going to get a trip to jail.
Okay. So that's why I wanted Sergeant McFarland to come in today, or GR, whoever showed up today, because I noticed that when I'm doing these stories on excessive speed, it's not just you getting pulled over and you're coming up and giving me a ticket. I mean, I guess that's a possibility. I guess it would depend on who I am and just how fast I was going. But nevertheless, at 100 miles an hour, 115, 120 miles an hour, you don't just get a ticket. Sergeant McFarland doesn't come up the window and give you a ticket. You're going to jail.
Right. And if you have passengers in the vehicle, especially children, odds are you're also going to get some additional charges for endangerment as well.
Oh, okay. So I guess we had a gal who did that recently. She had her couple of kids in the car.
Yeah, you're going to drive those kind of speeds and you have kids in the car, odds are we're going to charge you with endangerment as well.
Let me ask you this. Are you seeing that more and more these days?
We are seeing it more and more.
Why?
I don't know. I think maybe cars are faster. You get out on the interstate, you get a car that just has that speed ability. I don't know. I don't know what to attribute it to. Traffic volume, more people out. But we're certainly seeing an increase in that. And also, you mentioned aggressive driving. Probably seeing an increase in aggressive type of driving even more than the excessive speed.
And what does that include?
So aggressive driving, the statute, so you combine speed, and it doesn't matter how much over the speed limit, but if you're speeding, and then you combine that with, there's actually kind of a list of other violations, but basically 2 or more other moving violations, which can be following too closely, making an unsafe pass. So the typical situation you actually see it frequently in Phoenix if you're driving down there, is you get somebody that's speeding, they get up to a car, they're tailgating that car, then they make a lane change really quick and go around that car and cut back in front of that vehicle. That's classic aggressive driving because you have the combination of speed and several other violations, in that case, following too closely and making an unsafe lane usage. And honestly, the aggressive driving type behavior is probably what's increasing our collision. People are just impatient. They're causing a lot of
offensive type driver.
We need
than
more
offensive.
We need more of those.
I think there was a time when I was an offensive type driver where I was, but now it's more defensive and looking around me. I got on the interstate this morning to come to work, and the first thing I saw was, and I'm going to ask you this real quick, the pickup was going past the on-ramp that I was getting onto I-17, and the first thing I saw was out the window and sparks all over the road, and I thought, you son of a gun, this is where I live. You're going to set my forest on fire with that stuff. But I'm doing 45 getting on, and they're doing 80, 85, and so they got far ahead of me. And I wasn't going to chase him down. I wasn't going to chase him. But if I had been right behind him, he had done that. Can I call 911?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah?
Certainly in that case. With the wildfire situation we have right now, especially, that's a pretty dangerous act.
That really irked me. Yeah. I thought, oh, how dare you do that? This is my neighborhood. You're throwing this cigarette butt down. We got to take another break. DPS Sergeant John McFarland in studio today. Their website is AZDPS.
Plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5.
This is Rihanna.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
Ed Sheeran.
What's up, guys? It's Justin Bieber.
You're listening to The Weeknd.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
This was me. And Mom and Dad. And my big brother Alex. And Jack. And this was the day that I learned that sandals get their name from sand. That jellyfish aren't made of jelly. That stars don't just come from the sky. That the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget that I was sick. and it changed everything. This was my wish.
I call you and say, I'm with the IRS. You owe back taxes, and if you don't pay today, you're going to jail. You can fix this by sending cash. Did you actually believe me? Too smart to fall for it? Well, last year, Americans paid $100 million to guys like me. 1 in 6 people were scammed. Can you believe it? Well, you shouldn't. I just made that up, too. You are a little gullible.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a few minutes left of the program. Last year, if you remember, we had a story, and it kind of carried on. It kind of started, I want to say, around June, July last year, and then it continued throughout the year. But it was we were talking about the number of fatal crashes in the state, and the number was skyrocketing. It was more than we'd ever seen before. Yeah. And how many did we have last year?
Last year, year to date at this time, we had 116 fatalities.
Okay. At this time?
At this time.
At this time.
Yeah.
Did you have the whole year number?
No, just all I can compare is last year, year to date, and then this year. So unfortunately, we went from 116 at this time last year to 132 this year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a huge increase.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh wow. So it was 116 by this time last year by
Correct.
June, and to date now we're at 132
as of yesterday.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That is massive.
That's a lot of people.
And what are okay, seat belts? People are not wearing seat belts?
Surprisingly, with all the the information and education going out there, it's still shocking the amount of people that are not putting on their seat belts.
That shocks me too.
It is a little surprising.
Helmets. Seat belts, helmets, aggressive driving.
Aggressive driving.
Excessive speed.
Sure.
Are you still seeing a lot of, because I've noticed it kind of drop off. They're driving back at home on the Tuesdays and Thursdays when I commute. There would always be that car in front of me that would slow down.
Right.
I go around them, and the next thing I know, they're passing me.
Yeah.
And then a mile down the road, they've slowed down, and I'm going around.
The varying speed driver.
Why do I keep passing you? You keep passing me, and then you look over, and I see. Oh, we're doing things on the phone. That's what we're doing. I haven't noticed that for a while. Have you noticed a reduction in the texting and driving, or just cell phone and driving?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's a hard thing to quantify.
Okay.
Really, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little more education has been out there about, texting and driving and hands-free devices. So,
distracted driving.
Yeah, maybe that's helping.
Okay, maybe. All right, but anyways, just don't do that while you're driving down the road.
Yeah.
There was a day when you had to go home and use the phone.
Right.
There was that day. I remember when the day you didn't even have an answering machine.
Right.
Right.
There used to be a cord attached to the phone too.
Right. You had to be home to get the phone call. Right. So let's go back to those days a little bit, at least when it comes to driving down the road. Something else we wanted to hit real quick was Oak Creek Canyon. Locals really need to be careful driving through Oak Creek Canyon right now. It is a hotbed of tourists.
Right.
Yeah.
So this time of the year, as soon as it warms up, here come all our visitors from out of town, and they're going to clog up the canyon, whether you like it or not. So just be prepared for it. It's just one of those things you're going to have to be patient. On the weekends now, once the weather's warm, you might as well just count on a long drive through the village of Oak Creek all the way up through the canyon. Mm-hmm. So just be ready for traffic, be ready for problems, pedestrians. It's going to be there.
I've heard, and you see it a lot now, where Oak Creek Canyon is backed up past Midgley Bridge going into uptown Sedona during the evening hours, and then you've also got a large volume of traffic on 179 getting into Sedona.
Correct.
Just about any day on the weekend.
Yeah.
Anymore.
True.
And then the hot spots in Oak Creek Canyon, I would probably say would be Indian Gardens, about 3 miles up.
Sure.
Slide Rock State Park is a nightmare.
Obviously.
Yeah, right through that. There's the snaky switchbacks right after Slide Rock State Park. You really got to be careful through there. There's actually cars parked on the highway, which you guys get towed.
Right.
As best you can.
Sure.
And then West Fork has become quite the spot for pileups of vehicles and people just walking down the middle of the highway.
It's true.
So you really got to be careful driving through Oak Creek Canyon right now. It's just, it's crazy. Sergeant John McFarland, excellent job. Thank you so much for coming in. I really do appreciate you doing that for me. I thank you very much. Website again is azdps.gov. That's today's Countywide. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.